Parshat Shelah gives us one of the most famous data stories in the Torah, the sending of the leaders to explore the land of Israel. We often call them spies, but that word isn't quite right. They're not sent to sabotage or to deceive. They're sent to understand, to bring back information so that the people can know where they're going. At the start of the story, we're told that these are not random people. They are Nesi'im, heads of tribes, people with responsibility and influence. In earlier Parshiot, tribal leaders brought offerings to dedicate the Mishkan. Here, a new group of leaders is chosen for this mission of Latur et Haaretz, touring or exploring the land. These are the people everyone will listen to. The Torah's choice of the verb latur is important. Ibn Ezra, the 12th century Spanish commentator, known for his sharp linguistic insights, says that latur means to search out. And he connects it to the phrase, "V'lo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei einechem." Do not go wandering after your heart and your eyes. For him, latur is about seeking, going after something, investigating. Rabbi Yitzchak Shmuel Reggio, a 19th century Italian commentator, puts it very simply. Vayaturu inyan chakira v'chipus. Vayaturu means investigating and searching. It's a research mission. This job is to gather data, to check, to look closely. Shadal, Rav Shmuel David Luzzatto, also a 19th century Italian scholar and linguist, adds a beautiful layer. He explains that the root tul has a sense of circling, going around, like when the Torah traces the borders of a land. From there, he suggests that latul is to move around and map something, to draw its outline. And that helps us explain v'lo taturu acharei levavchem. Don't let your heart and eyes just wander around without direction, circling aimlessly, pulled away from serving God. Now into this picture walks a very modern voice, Dr. Lilach Turgeman. She's a historian who specializes in reading certain women's letters about the land of Israel. And in a different part of her career, she's a data scientist teaching computer science. Her research sits exactly on the seam between how people have described this land and how we handle information and data. Lilach points out something subtle about Moshe's instructions. When Moshe sends the men, he gives them a whole list of questions. Is the land good or bad? Are the people strong or weak? Few or many? Are the cities fortified or open? Is the land rich or poor? Is there a tree or not? And strengthen yourselves and take from the fruit of the land. She notices that Moshe seems to open two possible lenses for them. You can see the good and you can see the bad. Either way, your task is v'hitchazaktim, to gain strength from what you see. If you see the goodness, let it strengthen you. If you see the challenges, let that also strengthen you, to prepare, to plan, to grow. The point of the mission is not to decide possible or impossible. The point is to return stronger and enable others to be stronger. But that's not how it plays out. The men go, they explore for 40 days, and they come back with a report that starts exactly as it should. We came to the land to which you sent us. It is indeed flowing with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. They show the enormous cluster of grapes. So far, so good. Data collected, beauty affirmed. Then comes the turn. However, efeski, the people are powerful, the cities are very fortified, and we saw giants there. From here on, the report mixes facts with fear. Lilach emphasizes that the problem is not that they tell lies. The problem is how they process the information, how they edit it, frame it, and pass it on to a terrified public. She notes that the key line in the story is not about the size of the cities or the height of the giants. It's when they say, we were in our own eyes like grasshoppers, and so we were in their eyes. The real disaster is not external, it's internal. It's not what they saw, it's how they saw themselves. At that moment, Kalev steps forward. He sees the same data, the same land, the same cities, the same inhabitants, and he says, "Alo na'aleh v'yarashnu ota ki yachol nuchal la." We shall surely go up and inherit it. We can certainly do it. Kalev is not deleting the hard parts of the report. He's placing them in a different spiritual frame. For him, the purpose of information is to strengthen action, not to paralyze it. Lilach, coming from the world of both history and data science, uses this parsha to ask, what does it mean to have information? Today, with AI and huge data sets, we're swimming in tool, in explanation, and reports and interpretations. But, she says, the question is not only what happened, it's what do we do with what we know? How do we process, analyze, and respond to data? One of her striking points is that the men who went to Latul land did not wait to be asked each specific question. They came back with an overflowing narrative. They weren't Google search, they were AI. They mixed raw observations, their own fears, and their assumptions about others. Not all of it was checked, not all of it was needed. And yet the people received it as one inseparable block of truth. Dr. Torjman challenges us. When information comes to us, news, social media, AI outputs, do we receive it as one solid, unquestionable unit? Or are we able, as she puts it, lafrid, to separate data from interpretation and from spin? She says one of the key spiritual skills of this parsha is learning to distinguish. This is a piece of information, and this is the story someone is telling about it. And this is where our AI moment becomes very real. We live in a world where a question to a system can return an answer that looks polished, confident, even holy. But just like the report of the men, it's a mix. Real data, human choices about what to emphasize, patterns learned from what most people click on, and sometimes simply mistakes or hallucinations. So, what does it mean practically that AI tells us what we want to know? It means that, like the people in the desert, we're very vulnerable to hearing our fears echoed back to us. We ask anxious questions and we get anxious answers. We click on catastrophes and the system learns to show us more catastrophes. Moral claims can be twisted, false stories can be repeated until they feel normal. The danger is not that we will have no information. The danger is that we will forget how to ask, how to doubt, and how to separate fruit from fear. Lilach points out that the Parsha is terrifying, but also full of potential tools for tikkun, for repair. One of those tools is patience. She imagines, what if the people had said, let's sleep on this, let's hear the report, and then pause, let's not decide tonight. Sometimes the healthiest response to a flood of frightening information is not another click, but a pause. Time to let our hearts settle, to remember what we already know, to ask, what here is the fact and what is interpretation? Another tool she highlights is the ability to hold complexity without giving up. She says the awareness that there are challenges should push us to search for ways to fix, not erase the challenges, and not to say, oh, then we give up, we're going back to Egypt. In our language, seeing the problems in the world or even in the land of Israel should move us to act, not to walk away. So where does this leave us? Standing with our phones and our feeds and our AIs. First, it invites us to reclaim the holiness of questions. The mission of Latur et Haaretz was not a sin, it was a command. Wanting to understand, to ask, to explore, that's okay. The failure is how the answers were processed and transmitted. So we can ask, when I turn to my sources of information, am I asking questions that strengthen me, that help me serve, that prepare me to act? Or am I asking questions that only feed my fears? Second, it calls us to become a careful readers of reports. Like Dr. Turjman says, can I train myself to separate that someone is deciding which part of the sentence will have more weight? Third, it reminds us to look for the kalev in every story. Someone who sees the same reality but insists we can move forward. In the age of AI, that might mean surrounding ourselves with voices and communities that acknowledge real dangers, but still believe in our agency, our responsibility, and our hope. And finally, this Parsha teaches us humility about information itself. Knowing more does not automatically make us wiser. The leaders in the story had more information than anyone else in the camp, but their knowledge, without the external correct interpretations, without responsibility, without perspective, became a stumbling block. We too can explore the whole world in 40 seconds, not 40 days. We can tour the earth from our screens. The question is, will that exploration strengthen us, v'yitchazaktem, as Moshe hoped, or will it make us feel like grasshoppers in our own eyes? The choice, the Torah suggests, is not in the data, it's in us. Shabbat Shalom.